Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Media Pulse. This is our 25th episode now.
All right. We have come a long way.
Yes.
Well, there is this old saying, old soldiers never die. They just fade away. And this saying seems applicable to some extent anyway in Thai politics. Because in Thai politics, the old soldiers not only do not step aside easily, they also refuse to fade away.
And the case in point is General Prawit Wongsuwan, a former military strongman who, despite his age and physical condition, he still believes he can lead the charge on horseback.
No, General Prawit is 80 years old now, and he shows no sign that he is going to step aside for a new party leader to take over.
Yeah, under his leadership, the former army general declared early this week that he is confident that Palang Pracharath, his party, now the second biggest party in the opposition bloc, will soon stage a political comeback.
You know, for months, the former army general kept a low profile after his party was kicked out of the Palang coalition government last year. And speaking to reporters, it is quite a rare appearance of him, right? Right. Speaking to reporters at a seminar organized by the party, Palang Pracharath this week, General Prawit did not say much about the direction or the future of the party, but he gave the impression that he's still determined to lead the party to regain its political dominance based on what he repeatedly say is his party's policy of political reconciliation.
Yeah, right. He said, I want to personally reaffirm that our party will continue to march forward constructively and firmly. This is at the seminar of his party this week. But however, despite his confident tone, most political analysts believe that General Prawit's days are over, unfortunately. In their eyes, General Prawit today only a pale shadow of his old self.
Of course, we still remember his good old days, right? In his heyday, while he was still the military general, Prawit was known as the big brother of the military top brass. He was also somehow linked to the two military coups d'etats that ousted the Thaksin and Yong governments.
Yeah, exactly. And as Deputy Prime Minister, General Prawit was seen as the stabilizing force in the governments of General Prayut Chan-o-cha, who led the military coup in 2014. And he never concealed his ambition to succeed Prayut as Prime Minister.
And in the aftermath of the general elections back in 2023, General Prawit was even touted as a potential candidate for Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And back at that time, I mean, he did everything possible to give that impression too, that he had that ambition. But somehow he never got close to clinching that top executive post.
Yeah. However, General Prawit is not alone in being hopeful of better days for the party. In the seminar organized by Palang Pracharath Party this week, it offered its top executives an opportunity to whip up confidence among its rank and file in the party's future. So we had Sontirat Sontijirawong, the chairman of the party's Policy and Academic Center. He went to the extent of predicting a surge in the party's popularity in the next general election.
What makes him so confident? He bases his confidence on what he described as a conservative revival among Thai people, who he claimed are becoming disillusioned with many of the current Pheu Thai-led coalition government's policies, especially those on legalization of casinos and online gambling. And Sontirat described Palang Pracharath as a neo-conservative party, which he claimed has a strong appeal among many Thai people.
So there's no intention of rebranding or anything.
Yeah.
They just come back as the old party, just reawaken. Yeah. He said General Prawit is being positioned as a guardian of the monarchy, that's what he says, to connect the constituents who share the party's conservative agenda.
All right. All right, looking back, as we all know that Palang Pracharath Party was set up in 2018 as a political vehicle for General Prawit Chan-o-cha, who staged the coup against the Yong government 4 years earlier. It started as a mixed bag of politicians of various stripes, but with one common goal, to support Prawit as Prime Minister in the general elections in 2019.
And they did succeed at that time.
That's right, yeah.
So support for the party came mostly from conservative voters who saw General Prawit as a staunch pro-establishment royalist. However, there was later a fallout between General Prawit and General Prawit, who switched to join the United Thai Nation Party in the last general elections in 2023.
So what is the future of Palang Pracharath Party and that of General Prawit? I think that's a big question. Political commentators cast doubts on the future of the party and that of General Prawit as well. It's very obvious that the former army chief does not have the same political clout that propelled him to power many years back. So as you mentioned earlier, that he is now a pale shadow of his old self.
Yeah. Also, besides that, Palang Pracharath is fragmented.
Very fragmented,
Yeah,
very
now,
fragmented.
yeah. So with many MPs ready to jump ship if presented with better offers. In fact, a major faction comprising 20 MPs led by the former agriculture minister and a controversial political figure, Kun Thapmanat Phomphao, left the party en masse in December last year, or should they say were expelled?
It was very technical.
Expelled?
But the result was they left the party.
Yeah.
The defection, of course, dealt a heavy blow to the party and General Prawit's prestige, because he was supposed to be the godfather of the party, and he wasn't able to rein in these rebels.
And the kids left, the rebel kids. Well, despite the split, General Prawit has been able to hang on to his position as party leader, and as the party sees there's no alternative at the moment.
So for the time being, the General Prawit may see no immediate challenge to his job as party leader, but there's no guarantee that he is safe with his job in the long term, especially when the next elections come around.
If things go according to schedule, the next general elections will take place sometime in 2027. And the most political commentators believe that General Prawit is probably the best choice to hold the fort for the time being for Palang Pracharath. And by the time of the next general elections, or even before that, the old soldier will likely be forced to fade away or just fade away by himself.
Right.
We don't know.
All right. So early this week on Clare, I happened to bump into one of General Prawit's close aides, and this is what he told me. He claimed that General Prawit is quite aware of his physical condition. Did you know that General Prawit has suffered at least 3 strokes,
Yeah.
one of which he barely survived?
And he had difficulties walking.
That's right. Now, as we can see, he has difficulty walking without assistance. So what this close aide of General Prawit tried to tell me is that the former military strongman doesn't have the ambition for any higher political positions anymore.
Oh.
Because he knows that he is not ready to meet the demand of any serious political role.
But he still needs to be there just to hold the fort.
That's
for
right.
now.
He's needed by the party until they can find an alternative
Oh, poor guy.
to lead the party. So if that is the case, if these close aides of General Prawit is to be believed, then we should start the countdown to General Prawit's, the end of his career.
Yeah, well, he needs to look after his health a bit more, I guess. Yeah. We're going to shift our attention to the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, who has been hitting the campaign trail on behalf of candidates of the ruling Pheu Thai party, which is running in local elections, and his has now become a common sight.
Yeah, that's right. No, but for your information, Thaksin is not doing all this for free.
No. He's getting paid. Yeah.
He's being paid. So Thaksin has a former title. He is known as the election campaign assistant, a position sanctioned by the Election Commission,
Yep.
and which entitle him to a daily allowance of 340 baht,
Right.
about $10 a day, every time he goes out to campaign on the behalf of the candidates of the Pheu Thai party. And that is something he loves to brag about almost every time he goes on stage, right?
Look, I get paid 340 baht for coming up on stage.
Yes. Look, this is my only income, my only source of income. 340 baht a day, doing all this hard work. And this has become a joke he has been repeating every time he goes on stage.
Right. However, despite his self-depreciating remarks, there is no doubt that politically speaking, he has been gaining far more than the symbolic 340 baht per day from his campaign appearances and messages.
All right. And also benefiting from his appearances is not only the candidates themselves, but also his daughter's government.
Yeah.
Because he has been using all these election campaign stage to trumpet the virtues of legalizing casinos and online gambling. And this has become a common theme of his recent campaign speeches.
Which should be noticed that it has very little to do with the livelihoods or the issues of those people who they want the votes from.
Because it's believed that Thaksin has his eyes on the bigger prize, that is the next general elections. So in short, he is using the string of local elections to wage an early campaign for Pheu Thai parties in the next general elections.
Yeah, I guess it's to the point that we find it difficult to remember who's the actual candidate. People just remember to vote for.
I can't recall any names at all.
No, me too. Yeah.
So along the way, Thaksin is also using the opportunity going on his campaign trail to re-establish his political clout, which he hopes will help Pheu Thai party win a clean sweep in the next general elections.
Yeah. However, what caught the attention of the media and political commentators is how much more blustering and belligerent Thaksin has become in his campaign monologues over the past few weeks.
So if you have been listening to his speeches, it's quite clear that he has taken almost every opportunity to hit back at his critics and those opposed to Pheu Thai party's policy initiatives.
He's becoming much more aggressive. It's certainly not something that you typically hear on local election campaigns, but
Definitely
this is
not.
what we're seeing
Definitely
in
not.
Thailand. Yeah, in one of his appearances, he blasted those opposed to raising the minimum wage. And he said, "We want to see a raise in wages, but there are some standing in the way. I don't know what their heart is made of." This is according to Thaksin.
And then he pointed his finger at those whom we call lousy employers. These are lousy employers. Employers must be more broad-minded, meaning that he wanted all employers to accept the plan by the Pheu Thai party to increase the minimum wages, which have been strongly opposed by, of course, the organizations of employers.
Yeah. Raising the minimum wage was one of the major election campaign promises by the Pheu Thai party. But as we see so far, the Pathongtan government is still far from fulfilling the promise.
He also uses this opportunity, the appearances on the stage for the local elections to promote the plans by his daughter's government to legalize casinos. And he labeled the opponents of the legalization of the casino as hypocrites.
Yeah, there's an appearance, then he referred to his critics as dogs as well.
Wow.
So he said, "I don't care about all the dogs barking and howling at me."
At another rally, Thaksin suggested that his critics should hang themselves. I'm more than happy to send them some ropes so that they can use them to hang themselves.
It's quite harsh, isn't it? And in his most recent address in the northeastern province of Mahasarakham, the former prime minister launched a full-scale attack on one of those who accuse him of corruption. And he was very rude. He said this on stage, They said I am corrupt my
Dot, dot,
a dot dot dot. Oh gosh. So he went on to describe himself as a self-made man who became wealthy long before entering politics.
And he didn't stop at that. He recalled how he was subject to an investigation for alleged corruption after he was removed from power in the coup in 2006. You set up a committee to investigate me. I was already a wealthy man while you were still living on your father's allowances. That's what he said. And he mentioned no names.
No.
But his diatribe, quickly went viral on the social media. And last week we mentioned how Thaksin described himself as being nosy, right?
Yeah.
He said he needed to poke his nose into everything because this country has so many problems and no one seems to be in charge.
Yes, the list of diatribes by Thaksin we just mentioned may surprise those unfamiliar with the former Prime Minister. However, those who lived through the Thaksin years and witnessed both his best and worst moments were certainly not surprised.
But the question is, what does all this blustering by Thaksin mean? Political commentators believe that the increasingly defiant and provocative tone of Thaksin's statements reflect his confidence in his political stature and partly driven by political grudges. And don't forget that Thaksin's return from self-exile in August 2023 is believed to be part of a political deal that paved the way for Thepchai, his daughter's party, to rise to power.
He's angry.
Yeah.
And in exchange, Thaksin would be allowed to re-establish himself politically with the aim of countering the influence of the Move Forward Party, now known as the People's Party. And it is being recognized as its reformist platform, the People's Party. And political analysts generally understand that Thaksin believes he has a free hand in politics as long as he can achieve his objective.
Okay, so listen to some of the commentators who have been watching Thaksin and analyzing his every move very closely. One of them is Dr. Jet Thonavanik, legal expert and critic of Thaksin. Dr. Jet said he was not surprised by the former Prime Minister's rhetoric. Blustering and belittling others has always been characteristic of Thaksin. And after 17 years, he has not changed, said Dr. J. He was referring to the time of the former Prime Minister's self-exile. 17 years he was away from the country, right?
Yeah, he also stated that flaunting his wealth has always been Thaksin's method of persuading people that immense wealth places one above corruption.
And that's why Thaksin mentioned that he was wealthy long before joining politics. So he was trying to suggest that once I am rich, so why should I bother to be corrupt?
Wouldn't be bothered. Okay. He also shared an observation by other political analysts that Thaksin's political triads were intended to defend the Thepchai-led government and his daughter, the Prime Minister, who has yet to demonstrate that she can live up to the job. And Dr. Jade also suggested that Thaksin may harbor a long-term ambition to return as a Prime Minister again sometime in the future once all political or legal obstacles has been cleared.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he said that's why he has gone full throttle against his critics to warn them against getting in his way. Yeah.
Dr. Jet believes that, in fact, he shares the observation by many other commentators that Thaksin's real intention is to demonstrate that he has not only made a comeback, but will also continue to be a force to be reckoned with.
And we have Jatuphom Hompan as well. A vocal critic of Thaksin claimed that the former Prime Minister is acting out of panic. Now, this is another angle. He noted that the Thepchai party has been losing ground in local politics to the Phumjai Thai party, which is often described by the Thai media as Thepchai's frenemy. This is according to Jatuphom.
No, because the two parties, Thepchai and Phumjai Thai party, they are partners in the current coalition government, right? But they are obviously political rivals, and with the strong potential for a crash in the next general elections. That's why Thaksin has been going after Thai Party every time he goes on stage, in campaigning in the local elections, because he knows that the Thai Party will be a force that he has to reckon with. It's a force that need to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Well, at the national level, according to Jatuporn and other critics of Thaksin, Pheu Thai sees its political dominance being eclipsed by the Future Forwards as well, now known as the People's Party, which scored a stunning victory in the last general elections. So it's facing some challenges. And Thaksin, therefore, needs to do everything to regain voters' confidence in Pheu Thai Party, both at the local and national levels.
Okay. So once again, we have to reiterate that Thaksin holds no formal position either in the government or in the Pheu Thai Party. And ever since receiving a royal pardon last year, Thaksin has openly positioned himself as the de facto leader of the party, and often overshadowing his daughter, the Prime Minister. But it doesn't look like anyone in the Pheu Thai Party or in the government has any issue with what Thaksin is doing. Because for Pheu Thai Party, Thaksin appears to be the only hope for restoring the party's former glory. So that means that Thaksin, either formally or informally, will be leading the charge for Pheu Thai Party into the next general elections.
Yeah,
You can be sure of that.
way. Yeah. And speaking of Thaksin, we can also call him a unifying figure in a way.
Come on. Because he was once seen as the most divisive figure in Thailand.
Yes.
And now you're calling him a unifier.
Unifying figure, because this week, scores of his old friends and foe joined hands in demonstrating that discontents against what they called preferential treatment that Thaksin received, particularly we're talking about the 14th floor scandal. So as we all know, back in August 2023, Thaksin returned to Thailand after 17 years of self-exile, but he spent time serving his sentence in a VIP suite of the 14th floor of the Police General Hospital instead of the prison.
But that is only just one of the many issues, one of the many grudges against him. There are several other issues that have been raised by these anti-Thaksin's protesters, including the government's plan to legalize casinos and online gambling.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, the so-called MOU 44 issue, right? The things about the demarcation or joint exploitation of marine resources between Thailand and Cambodia in the Gulf of Thailand.
Yeah. So this week, they went to the government house well equipped with Thai flags and clapper toys, which brings back memories. It resembles the atmosphere of the yellow shirt protest back in 2005, I guess. It's just that this time, the red shirts, the former red shirt supporters were also there.
Okay, those of different colors.
Yeah, they're all there.
Are now converging against Thaksin.
That's why we say he's a unifying figure.
So so Thaksin has been quite successful to some extent, right?
Bringing people back
Jokingly
together.
speaking.
Yeah. So Jatuporn Phompan, one of the former red shirt leaders who used to support Thaksin, led the group to submit a letter to Prime Minister Pattongtan, who was in Switzerland, asking for clarification on the 14th floor issue. And the big question being is his medical records, which is still questionable. So one thing we should also point out is the term that the Thai press has been using a lot with the 14th floor issue is the word 14th floor angel.
This is used to refer to Thaksin, right?
Yes.
All of a sudden, he has become an angel.
So in the West, if we use the term angel, it would refer to someone who is kind and nice, kind and good. Yeah, exactly. But in the Thai political context, it is sarcastic.
Wow. So what does it mean exactly?
It means you are special and untouchable.
I think my sense is that the Thai media used the term, the word angel, to refer to Thaksin simply because he has been acting like one
Yeah.
Someone who is above the law, someone who is untouchable. Yeah.
Jatuporn also used that term, so I'm not sure if the media picked that up from Jatuporn or the other way around. But however, for Thaksin, there is one more pressing concern than these protesters. So on Monday, this Monday, 27th January, is the due date for the Supreme Court decision on whether or not to consider the 14th floor case. This is, I guess, it's the third time now that somebody's submitted a case to the court. Yep.
And if you ask Thaksin about these demonstrators, he seems unperturbed.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't really care much about what is going on the streets. And because he seems to believe in whatever mission that he is pursuing or whatever mandate he believes they have been given.
I don't think he minds because he's seen larger mobs before back then, so this is still very small. So remains to be seen the court case, and if they accept to consider the case, then the medical records might come to light.
But the big question is whether all these street demonstrations will somehow snowball into bigger demonstrations, similar to what we have seen many years back.
Yeah.
Thaksin appears confident, and people around him also share the same kind of confidence that very unlikely that these demonstrations will snowball. Right?
But anything can happen in Thai politics.
That's right. That's a warning from these demonstrators that don't overlook our potential, because what you're doing, meaning what Thaksin is doing, is certainly, will only further fuel, the anti-government, anti-Thaksin sentiments that is already widespread among many groups of people.
Only gives them more reasons to come out. I guess that's it for this week of Media Pulse. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.